Hello everyone, and welcome to Dear Heroic Life. Before we begin, we'd love to know, where are you watching from right now? Are you relaxing at home, on a busy commute, or maybe somewhere new and exciting? Drop a comment below, share your location, and let's get the conversation started. Warm afternoon light filtered through the tall windows in Keanu Reeves's Los Angeles home, illuminating a tidy, minimalist bedroom. He stood at the mirror, carefully adjusting his tie for the evening's big event, a movie premiere that had been on his calendar for weeks. There was a quiet excitement in his eyes, the same spark he often felt before important appearances. Beyond the closed door, he could hear the faint sound of his wife, Hannah, moving through the house, double-checking last-minute details. Curled up in a corner of the bedroom lay Atlas, an elderly golden retriever with a gentle face and silver-tinged fur. Though age had slowed him, his eyes still shone with a perceptive intelligence and unwavering devotion. As Keanu adjusted his tie, he caught the dog's gaze in the mirror. "You're my good luck charm tonight," he teased, stepping away from the mirror to kneel by Atlas. "No premiere is complete without you around, buddy." Hannah appeared in the doorway, shoes in hand, eyebrows raised in affectionate amusement. "I'm sure he's thrilled to be part of the tradition," she said softly. "He seems to understand what's happening, like he always does." Keanu nodded, scratching behind Atlas's ears. "He's been with me through every major milestone," he said. "It wouldn't feel right heading out without saying a proper goodbye." Atlas let out a long, lazy yawn that turned into a deep exhale, prompting Keanu to pause. For a second, he noticed a flicker of discomfort in the dog's eyes. "Everything okay, boy?" Keanu murmured. Atlas blinked, then rested his head on his paws. Nothing obviously alarming, but enough to plant a subtle worry in Keanu's mind. With a gentle rub of the dog's head, he rose again, resuming his final check in the mirror. "We'll be back before you know it," he said, as though Atlas could fully grasp his words. Hannah gave a small smile, half reassurance, half concern. "He might be slower these days, but he still tries to follow you everywhere," she remarked, heading down the hallway to organize items for the night out. "I noticed him stumbling a bit this morning. Maybe old age is catching up to him." "Let's keep an eye on him," Keanu replied, voice lowered, hinting at a mild worry he didn't want to voice outright. "But I bet he's just tired from all the excitement." After a final glance in the mirror, tie straight, hair neatly combed, Keanu jogged down the stairs to find Hannah, who was tidying up near the front door. Their living room hummed with quiet energy, staff members coordinating cars, double-checking that everything was prepared. Atlas lay near the couch, observing the bustle with calm focus. Keanu headed into the kitchen, retrieving a bowl of the senior dog formula that Atlas loved, a ritual he rarely skipped before going anywhere significant. Placing it on the ground, he whistled softly. "Dinner, pal," he announced. Usually, Atlas would hobble over and start munching straight away, but this time, the old dog approached more cautiously. He sniffed the food, exhaled, then sank to lie down, disinterested. That was unusual enough for Keanu to pause. "He's not eating?" Hannah asked, stepping up behind Keanu, brow furrowed. "That's not like him." Keanu tried a light-hearted grin. "We're all wound up tonight. So much commotion. He's probably picking up on the vibes." He patted Atlas gently, then checked his watch. The premiere drew ever closer. "We've got to go soon." Picking up his keys and phone from the counter, Keanu made for the front door. He grabbed a lightweight jacket, Hannah gathering her purse. Outside, the driver waited, ready to shuttle them downtown. But the instant Keanu opened the door, Atlas struggled upright and lumbered over, planting himself squarely in the doorway. "Hey, buddy," Keanu coaxed, confused by the dog's sudden blockade. Atlas pressed his body firmly against Keanu's legs, letting out a soft whimper that contradicted his usual stoic nature. For a moment, time slowed as Hannah and Keanu exchanged questioning looks. Atlas never whined, nor did he physically block their way out. This was different. Hannah's eyes flicked with concern. "Is he trying to stop you from leaving?" It certainly looked that way. Even staffers near the door paused, eyebrows raised. Keanu knelt, offering a comforting rub along Atlas's back. "It's okay, buddy. I'll be back soon," he whispered, but the dog wouldn't budge. Instead, Atlas gazed at Keanu with an intensity that rattled him. There was a depth to the old dog's eyes that spoke of desperation, or perhaps some silent plea. In the corners of the living room, half-packed gear for the event waited, along with the subtle hum of a car engine outside. Keanu's phone buzzed, a reminder that time was running short. Hannah tapped her foot anxiously, mindful of the schedule. Yet neither could bring themselves to simply push the dog aside. The sense that something was truly amiss hung in the air, pressing on both of them in a way they couldn't ignore. Atlas remained unwavering, stationed in the doorway as though physically incapable of letting Keanu Reeves pass. The staff members in the living room, witnessing the odd standoff, exchanged puzzled glances. Hannah gently placed a hand on Keanu's shoulder. "Let's see if he'll move if we step away," she suggested, her voice tight with the same unease that Keanu felt. Keanu nodded. Rising, he stepped back a few feet, giving the dog space. Atlas looked from Keanu to the threshold, whined lowly, then took a single step forward, as if to maintain that barrier. "You really don't want me leaving, do you, buddy?" Keanu murmured, brow creased. One of the staff members leaned in, speaking softly. "Mr. Reeves, we're on a strict timetable for the premiere. We might need to head out." But Hannah shook her head. "Just give us 1 minute," she said. The staffer backed off, respecting the personal moment. Everyone in the house felt the tension, a quiet drama overshadowing the glitz of the upcoming event. Keanu crouched in front of Atlas again, this time more urgently. "What's going on, old friend? Are you feeling ill?" He ran a gentle hand down the dog's spine, searching for signs of pain or stiffness. Atlas blinked slowly, panting with a slight wheeze. Usually, panting was normal for an older dog, but something about the labored breath deepened the pit in Keanu's stomach. Hannah's voice, hushed and trembling, broke the silence. "Keanu, we both know he's not acting normal. He's never done this before. Maybe we should skip tonight. He needs a vet check, just to be safe." Keanu's eyes darted to the clock on the wall, then back to Atlas. The weight of the premiere, press commitments, fans waiting, a film he was proud of, warred against the stirring panic about Atlas's well-being. We could see how he is in an hour," he offered half-heartedly. But as if responding, Atlas let out another weak whine, more pointed this time, and sank down as though his legs could no longer hold him. That was it, the final sign. Keanu let out a shaky exhale, rising to address the staff. "I'm sorry, but I can't leave him like this," he announced, voice resolved. "You all go ahead to the venue. Please inform them I won't make it. Family emergency. I'll release a statement later." The team members exchanged startled looks. They knew how important premieres were, how absence might stir tabloids, but the devotion in Keanu's eyes left no room for debate. Nods of reluctant understanding passed through them. Within minutes, the car pulled away without Keanu. The glitzy black suit, the polished shoes, all laid aside. Hannah helped him gather Atlas, who remained lying in the entryway, too weak to stand properly. With gentle movements, Keanu scooped the dog into his arms. Atlas weighed more than a lightweight pup, but adrenaline fueled Keanu's grip. He whispered, "Hang in there, partner," while Hannah quickly fetched car keys and a blanket. In the back seat of their SUV, Atlas lay with his head resting on Keanu's lap. The dog's chest rose and fell in laborious, shallow breaths. "It's going to be okay," Keanu said, though the tremor in his voice gave away his fear. Hannah drove, knuckles white around the steering wheel, heading straight for the 24-hour veterinary clinic they'd visited for checkups in the past. The neon sign of the clinic glowed up ahead. Upon arriving, they wasted no time. Keanu carried Atlas inside, greeting the receptionist with urgency. "He's been acting strangely, stumbling, and now he can't stand," he explained, voice tight. The receptionist, recognizing Keanu by sight, though not letting it distract her, guided them quickly to an examination room. A petite veterinarian, Dr. Mayfield, wearing soft scrubs and a compassionate expression, entered. She asked a series of questions about Atlas's symptoms, appetite, and age, scribbling notes as Keanu answered. Then she carefully examined the dog, checking eyes, gums, heart rate. Each measurement made her brow furrow just a bit more. "We should run some immediate tests," she said gently. "He's quite lethargic, and his heart sounds irregular." Hannah hovered by the exam table, tears threatening to fall. "Is it serious?" she asked, her voice small. Dr. Mayfield pressed her lips together. "I can't say for sure yet, but we should prepare for all possibilities. Let's do blood work, maybe an ultrasound. We'll get results fast." While technicians moved Atlas to another area for tests, Dr. Mayfield motioned for Keanu and Hannah to step back. "He'll be more comfortable with less crowding," she explained. Left alone in a small waiting area, the couple exchanged anxious looks. Only a short while ago, they were planning an evening of celebration and red carpets. Now, their entire focus revolved around a single, beloved dog. Keanu covered his mouth with a trembling hand. "You think he'll pull through?" he asked quietly. Hannah clasped his free hand. "He's tough, Keanu. He's always been tough." But worry flickered in her eyes. Minutes stretched like hours. In the background, they could hear muffled noises of medical equipment and the occasional bark from another patient. The air felt thick with tension. Keanu's phone vibrated repeatedly with calls and texts from event organizers, co-stars, and journalists, all wanting to know where he was. He silenced them, ignoring the swirling outside world. Atlas was all that mattered. Eventually, Dr. Mayfield reappeared. She paused, taking a breath before speaking, which made Keanu's heart lurch. "We see signs of advanced heart failure," she said softly. "It's not definitive yet, but his blood work shows severe irregularities, and the ultrasound found fluid buildup." Hannah inhaled sharply. Keanu's eyes brimmed with emotion. Is there a treatment that can fix this?" The vet hesitated. "We can try to stabilize him, but at his age, and given how quickly he declined, the outcome is uncertain. We'll do everything we can." Keanu nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "Please," he whispered, voice breaking. "Just help him be comfortable. We'll do anything." A gray dawn light seeped through the clinic's glass doors, revealing that night had silently passed while Keanu Reeves and Hannah kept vigil. They hadn't budged from the waiting area, occasionally drifting off in tense, fitful dozes. In the early hours, Dr. Mayfield updated them. Atlas was responding modestly to medication, but his heartbeat remained erratic. An exhausted vet tech led them to a private room where they could see Atlas. The golden retriever lay on a cushioned mat, and 4 drip connected to one leg, and an oxygen line near his muzzle. He looked frail, almost too weary to lift his head. But when he sensed Keanu's approach, his tail gave a weak thump on the bedding. Hannah gently touched Keanu's shoulder. "He knows we're here," she whispered. The moment felt delicate, an unspoken farewell lingering in the air. The soft beep of monitors tracked Atlas's vitals, each beep a tether to life. Keanu knelt by the dog's side, carefully sliding a hand under Atlas's chin. "Hey, buddy," he crooned, voice shaking. "I'm sorry I didn't see how bad it was earlier. You tried to warn me. You blocked the door so I wouldn't leave. Didn't you?" Atlas's eyes fluttered open, a subtle affirmation of that memory. "He was always so intuitive," Hannah murmured, tears in her eyes. "He knew you'd regret going to the premiere if anything happened to him." Keanu buried his face briefly in the dog's neck, breath hitching. "You carried me through my darkest times," he said softly. "I should have noticed sooner." Scenes of their life together flashed in his mind. Atlas as a bouncy puppy bounding through the yard, then middle-aged dog trotting beside him on a film set. Always a silent comforter. The dog's final day had come so suddenly, it felt surreal. Dr. Mayfield entered, clearing her throat gently. "We can keep trying to stabilize him, but we need to consider his quality of life. The heart failure is advanced, and he's in considerable discomfort." The weight of that statement hung in the air. Hannah pressed her lips together, tears slipping free. Keanu's voice was barely audible. "If we can't reverse this, I just want him not to suffer." The vet nodded, eyes sympathetic. "Some owners choose euthanasia to prevent prolonged pain. Others request more time to say goodbyes, or attempt short-term treatments that might give a few days or weeks. It's a personal decision. Keanu stared at Atlas, heart twisting. The dog seemed to breathe in shallow, ragged intervals, a warrior approaching his final battle. Would he have more time if we push treatments? He asked, clinging to any hope. It might extend things briefly, Dr. Mayfield answered carefully, but he could remain in distress, and it may not improve his overall comfort. I'm sorry. Hannah slipped an arm around Keanu's waist, her tears blending with his unspoken heartbreak. Keanu, she whispered, voice trembling, he deserves peace. Keanu exhaled shakily, feeling an ache deeper than any he'd known. Slowly, he nodded, tears rolling down his cheeks. We owe him that much, he said, brushing a hand along Atlas's ear. He gave us a lifetime of love. It's time to let him rest. In a hushed and sacred moment, they agreed to a final act of mercy. Dr. Mayfield left to prepare medication while Keanu and Hannah stayed, cradling Atlas. The dog's eyes flickered with a mixture of exhaustion and acceptance, as though intuitively sensing the final farewell. A swirl of memories rushed through Keanu's mind. The day he first brought Atlas home, how the dog's presence once soothed him after a personal tragedy, the countless mornings they'd shared quiet walks. For years, Atlas had anchored him, offering unconditional companionship that asked for nothing but love in return. Dr. Mayfield returned, gloves on, a small syringe in hand. Take your time, she said gently. Let me know when you're ready. In silent unison, Keanu and Hannah bent over Atlas, pressing foreheads gently against the dog's soft fur. Tears blurred the edges of the world as Keanu whispered, I love you. Thank you for everything. Hannah murmured heartfelt thanks, voice choked by sorrow. Atlas gave a final, faint wag of his tail, as though acknowledging each word. Keanu nodded to Dr. Mayfield, who administered the injection. The dog's breathing slowed, then softened to a halt. The beep of the monitor flatlined, replaced by a hush that felt bigger than the room itself. Overcome, Keanu pressed his palm to Atlas's still flank, tears falling freely now. Hannah stood by him, arms around his shoulders, her own sobs quiet. He waited so you wouldn't be gone, she managed to say through trembling lips. He blocked you at the door because he needed to say goodbye. In that moment, the heartbreak was total, yet beneath it lay a trembling gratitude for the bond they'd shared, for a love so potent it drove a dying dog to gather enough strength to keep his beloved owner close. A hush more profound than any applause or premiere followed them out, as they left the clinic carrying an unfilled presence where Atlas once was. Life would go on, but it would never be quite the same. The days that followed felt like a blur of subdued grief within the Reeves household, where once Atlas's paws clicked softly across the hardwood floors. Now an almost eerie silence replaced the familiar presence. Keanu Reeves found himself waking at dawn, expecting to see the old golden retriever waiting by the bedroom door, only to remember the painful truth a heartbeat later. Hannah quietly tidied away Atlas's belongings. She folded his favorite blanket, the one with edges chewed from puppyhood days, and placed it in a chest. The dog bowl, now heartbreakingly empty, was gently stored in a cupboard. Neither she nor Keanu could bear to see it every day. They didn't want to throw any of it away, but leaving them out felt like salt in an open wound. Messages of condolence poured in from friends, fans, and people who'd heard rumors of why Keanu missed the premiere. Some posted tributes to Atlas online. The news that the beloved actor had skipped a major event for an ailing dog touched hearts worldwide. Strangers sent him thoughtful notes. Thank you for showing us what matters, read one. Another said, I lost my dog too. Your story gave me courage to grieve openly. Keanu appreciated the sentiments, but found no solace in public sympathy. His sorrow was intensely private, tied to day-to-day memories no outsider could fully grasp. He moved quietly around the house, often pausing in the corners where Atlas used to lounge. Hannah observed him with concern. She missed the dog, too, but it pained her more to see Keanu's silent mourning. One late afternoon, she joined him in the living room. each sinking into the couch that overlooked the empty bed by the window. The sunbeams warmed the space, echoing the times Atlas dozed in that sunspot. I keep expecting him to lift his head at any moment, Hannah confessed, eyes misting. It's like a phantom presence. Keanu nodded. He was so much more than a pet, he said, voice hushed. When I was at my lowest, Atlas was unwavering. It's as though he carried me through heartbreaks I never talk about, and I feel guilty for not seeing it. How close he was to the end. Hannah squeezed his hand gently. He tried to tell you in the only way he could. She paused, wiping her cheek. But we were so used to him being a constant, right? Keanu exhaled a ragged sigh. Yes, I never imagined a time he wouldn't be here. After a weighted silence, Hannah took a breath. Let's do something to honor him, she said. A small memorial? Maybe in the backyard near those rose bushes he liked sniffing. Something we can look at and remember him by. A faint smile curved Keanu's lips. He did love those bushes. And the yard. He'd always sprawl in that patch of sunlight. He pictured Atlas there, muzzle resting on the grass, golden fur shining in late afternoon light. Yes, that's a good idea. Within days, they arranged a simple gathering. Close friends came, each carrying a small flower or a candle. They stood in the backyard at dusk, quiet music playing. Keanu said a few words about how Atlas blocked the door that final evening, an act that still gave him chills. He knew, Keanu said softly, voice trembling. He wanted me home so I wouldn't regret missing his last moments. Tears glistened in the eyes of those gathered. The hush of empathy and love filled the yard. Hannah unveiled a small carved stone with Atlas's name etched on it. Placing it by the rose bush, they arranged flowers around it. It was a private, understated tribute. No cameras, no headlines. Just an intimate farewell from those who truly understood what Atlas meant. When the short ceremony ended, the group lingered. Some told stories of their own pets, the heartbreak of losing them. Others simply offered hugs to Keanu and Hannah, the universal language of comfort. Overhead, the first stars dotted the sky. In that starlit quiet, a sense of gentle peace settled in, as though acknowledging that Atlas's spirit remained woven into the place he called home. As the final guest departed, Keanu and Hannah retreated indoors. In a moment of shared exhaustion, they sank onto the couch. I feel lighter, Hannah admitted, though tears still clung to her lashes. Like acknowledging it publicly helped. Keanu nodded, pressing a palm to his chest. He's still here, he said, voice gravelly. I can feel him in everything. They decided they would take time off. The hustle of Hollywood could wait. In the hush of morning, they wanted to rediscover life's simplicity, walks in quiet parks, reflecting on love and loyalty. The pain remained raw, but acceptance began to grow. Late that night, after Hannah fell asleep, Keanu sat alone in the living room, phone in hand. He typed a heartfelt post across social media platforms, an open letter about Atlas's life. He ended with a line that read, "He showed me that love needs no words, only presence. I hope we can all cherish the ones who stand by us, every moment." He turned off the phone and closed his eyes. In the hush, he swore he could hear a soft sigh, like a golden retriever breathing in gentle slumber. While he knew it was just a memory, it soothed him. In that ephemeral sound, he found closure, a promise that life would move forward, but never without the imprint of Atlas's steadfast love etched in his heart forever. The next weeks passed slowly, but healing began to seep in. Each morning, Keanu Reeves would stand on the porch, coffee steaming in his hand, gazing at the small memorial stone nestled by the rose bush. The sense of emptiness remained. No dog trotted out to greet him, no golden fur brushing his legs. Yet the memories now carried a gentler sadness, a reminder of how Atlas had shaped his life. Hannah observed him from the doorway. She admired the quiet courage with which he faced each day. He'd canceled a string of media appearances, forcing the world to accept that sometimes personal grief outweighs professional demands. Fans widely supported him, some remarking how the choice to stay by Atlas's side spoke volumes about his character. One afternoon, as the sun cast warm patterns across the hardwood floor, Hannah approached with a cautious smile. "I want to show you something," she said softly, holding up her phone. On the screen was a local rescue's website. A photo of a young Labrador with soulful brown eyes labeled, "Looking for a Home." Keanu's expression tightened momentarily, a flicker of guilt passing. "Hannah, I don't know if I'm ready to." She placed a hand on his. "I know, but I also know how much love you have to give, and how caring for a dog might help you heal. Not replace Atlas," she added gently. "Never that. But maybe you can help another life in need." His gaze dropped to the floor, wrestling with conflicting emotions. The idea of bringing a new dog home so soon felt almost disloyal. Yet the emptiness gnawed at him daily. "He's a Labrador named Sawyer," Hannah continued, voice tentative. "He's about 2 years old, rescued from a difficult situation. Good with people, a little shy. But the shelter staff say he's sweet." Keanu sighed, his heart heavy with memory. Maybe we can visit him." No promises. That weekend, they drove to the modest rescue shelter. The memories of stepping into a shelter were painfully fresh. He recalled how he'd once done so with Atlas's first adoption. But life had changed. Now, with Hannah by his side, Keanu tried to keep an open mind. The shelter volunteer, a cheerful woman named Rosa, greeted them warmly, leading them to the kennel area. In a spacious enclosure, Sawyer sat quietly, tail thumping as they approached. He had a sleek black coat and eyes that held traces of uncertainty. Hannah leaned over the gate, coaxing softly, "Hey there, buddy." Sawyer's ears perked, and a shy curiosity sparked in his gaze. Keanu swallowed, stepping forward. At his presence, Sawyer rose, wagging his tail in a slow, unsure manner. Gingerly, the dog pressed his nose to Keanu's outstretched fingers. "Hello, Sawyer," Keanu murmured. "Let's see if we understand each other." The dog licked his hand once, a gentle acceptance. Hannah beamed, her eyes misty. "He likes you." Rosa shared Sawyer's background, found wandering alone, likely an abandoned pet. Shy around large men at first, but he'd blossomed under patient care. "He still needs confidence," Rosa said. "A calm, loving home would do wonders." Keanu's chest tightened with emotion. He thought of Atlas. Of that day, the golden retriever had blocked him from the door, sacrificing everything to keep him near. The idea of a new companion felt bittersweet. Yet seeing Sawyer's quiet yearning melted his reservations. "Let's try," he said quietly, meeting Hannah's eyes. She nodded, tears brimming with shared relief. They spent time in a small outdoor pen, Sawyer sniffing Keanu's shoes and circling them, eventually leaning in for ear scratches. Hannah laughed softly when the dog placed a tentative paw on Keanu's knee, as if claiming him. "You see how it is," she teased. "They always pick you." Rosa, watching from a short distance, smiled. "Looks like a match." After some paperwork and a swirl of mixed excitement and lingering sorrow, they loaded Sawyer into the back of the SUV. He lay there, eyes wide, an uncertain new journey starting. Hannah turned in the driver's seat to watch him. "We'll take this slow," she promised. "He can have time to settle in." Back home, the house felt different. The hush that once felt painful now softened as they introduced Sawyer to each room. He pressed his nose to the couch, explored the corners, then came upon the spot where Atlas's bed used to be. For an instant, he paused, sniffing at the faintest remnants of the old dog's scent. Keanu watched, throat tight, wondering if Sawyer could sense the legacy left behind. Eventually, Sawyer curled up near the same window Atlas favored, as though drawn by the same beam of warm sunlight. Keanu stood, arms crossed, letting out a slow exhale. "You're not replacing him," he whispered, voice trembling, "but you're welcome here. I hope you feel that." In the days that followed, the newly adopted lab settled into a gentle routine. Keanu discovered Sawyer's personality, reserved yet affectionate, a dog who thrived on quiet reassurance. Hannah coaxed him to play in the yard, encouraging him to chase a squeaky ball. Each little step the dog took reminded them of how healing works, a gradual layering of new memories over the old heartbreak. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the fence, Keanu reflected on the change. He missed Atlas daily, but the ache no longer crippled him. Instead, it guided him to care for Sawyer with a deep sense of gratitude. Perhaps that was how love endured, by living on in the kindness given to another creature in need. Before bed, he paused at the small memorial stone near the rosebush, Sawyer by his side. "Thank you, Atlas," Keanu said softly, "for teaching me what real loyalty is." Sawyer pressed against his leg, as if bridging the past and the future. With a final sigh, Keanu returned inside, a quiet sense of peace weaving through him, knowing he was ready to embrace this new chapter. Sometimes, love reveals itself in the smallest gestures: a dog blocking a doorway, a gentle nudge when we're at our lowest, or simply the unspoken comfort of warm fur on tired legs. For Keanu Reeves, the last moments with his beloved dog, Atlas, became a profound reminder that life's grand events can wait, but devotion cannot. In the end, Atlas's final day was an act of pure selflessness, summoning the strength to prevent Keanu from leaving for an important night, ensuring his closest companion wouldn't carry regret. That silent plea exemplified the quiet wisdom animals often hold. Even as his body weakened, Atlas offered one last gift: the realization that love is measured by presence, by being there when it truly matters. Grief, though overwhelming, gave birth to reflection and renewed empathy. From heartbreak arose a gentle acceptance, leading Keanu to open his home to another dog, Sawyer. While no one could replace Atlas, caring for Sawyer carried forward the lessons Atlas had taught: compassion, steadiness, and understanding that every creature deserves a chance at warmth and belonging. Thus, even in loss, Atlas's spirit lived on, manifest in each kindness Keanu extended to his new companion. Through that final gesture of blocking the door, Atlas forever altered Keanu's perspective, reminding him, and all of us, that the ones we love should take precedence over any acclaim or spotlight. Life's true milestones aren't always about red carpets or paparazzi flashes, but about the intimate bonds we forge and the love we share with those who need us most. Let this story remind us to cherish every wagging tail, every gentle lick, every silent moment of comfort. And may the memory of Atlas spark in us the courage to be present and protect the ones we love, human or otherwise, until our last breath.